Disclaimer: this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial advice. We are not registered financial advisors. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, your number one source for income-oriented investing where we don't ignore total returns. And in today's video, I want to go over how I personally evaluate covered call ETFs before I add them to my portfolio, before I purchase them. So this is very important. I get similar type of question all the time, right? How do I know if a covered call ETF is good? Should I add it to my portfolio or not? So a lot of newer investors in the covered call space don't know how to evaluate them. So I'm going to go through a checklist per se of how I personally what I look for before deciding if I should add a covered call ETF in my portfolio or not. Okay, so the first, second, and even third thing I look at, the most important item by far, everyone, that you need to look at when you're evaluating a covered call ETF, and in my opinion, any ETF in general, is what is inside the ETF. It's the holdings, it's the stocks inside the ETF. Remember, the ETF is just a wrapper. It's a middleman. So you absolutely have to be sure that you like the stocks, the companies, or the assets inside the ETF, right? So for example, let's go through a few examples here. USCL, what's inside USCL? This is an easy one. It's a Global X Enhanced S&P 500 covered call ETF. Inside of it, it's literally 125% of USCC. What is USCC? So sometimes you have to peel back the onion and backtrack a little bit, because especially if there's ETFs that hold other ETFs, you got to kind of peel the onion layer back, if you will, peel the whatever back. But for example, this one is very easier, right? You're literally investing in the S&P 500. But then there's things that are a little bit more niche, like ENCL. So when you're investing in ENCL, what are you investing in? ENCL? No. ENCL is just a wrapper. It's just the middleman. Again, you got to go to the holdings and you'll realize that you're investing really in the ENCC ETF. Then you look at the ENCC. Well, it's about 10 big cap energy stocks in Canada. HHIC, the stocks are right here. You are literally investing in, not in HHIC, in these 10 stocks. That's because that's what's inside HHIC with these percentages, right? HDIF is an all-in-one from Harvest. So if you go to the portfolio, you could see the sectors, but how do you get exposures? This is your sector exposure, right? Well, it's a combination of all these ETFs that you could click on, and then you could see the stocks, right? HYLD, same type of deal. If you scroll down, you always got to look at the holdings, what's inside. So this is another ETF that holds other ETFs, which means you got to go through them to really find out the stocks. And you see that SMAX makes up 61%, right? So SMAX, I know is about 25 big cap US stocks. So things like the Magnificent Seven and other things are in there. Right, BMAX, another all-in-one. So you got to go to portfolio, look inside. What's inside? Well, these ETFs, and these are the weightings, and then you got to go look at each ETF one by one. But of course, sometimes the name gives it away, right? North American Financials, you could expect North American financial stocks in there. Tech leaders, technology. European Dividend Growth ETF, well, dividend stocks that are based in Europe that grow their dividends over time. Healthcare, etc., etc., etc. So guys, the number one thing, the most important thing that you need to look at before investing in a covered call ETF is, what are you actually investing in? The holdings, by far the most important thing. Before we continue, I'd like to thank the sponsor of the video, which is Brompton Funds. In case you didn't know, they came out with a very interesting ETF called the Brompton Global Equity High Pay ETF. This is their first high pay ETF. So the stock symbol is PAYG. And this basically invests in a portfolio of 20 global stocks. So if you just go on their website here, click on Why Invest or Fund Profile. So if you go to Why Invest, you could scroll down and you'll actually see the 20 stocks right now in the portfolio. You see that it's very diversified. Of course, I clicked on the French one for some reason. Let's just click on the English one here. So here you have the portfolio of stocks. You have all the 20 stocks here, the country allocation, the sector allocation. So as you can see, it's very well diversified. It also has 25% leverage. and they just declared their first semi-monthly distribution. So this is going to pay 2 distributions a month of 20 cents. It has 25% leverage. I think I already mentioned that. So this is very interesting if you're a covered call ETF investor like me and you want something with global exposure, but that's a little bit more concentrated, but is still very, very well diversified. This could be one to consider, and I highly, highly, highly recommend everyone, if you're interested in these, is that you check out the Q&A that I did with Chris Collin, Senior VP at Brompton, where we discuss this ETF in detail, including the holdings and why they chose these holdings, including the cover call strategy, etc., etc. So again, thank you so much to Brompton Funds for sponsoring this video. Pagey, check out that ETF, and I'll put the link in. I'll actually put it in the description, and I'll pin a comment to this video so you could check it out. So going back to the things I evaluate now, the checklist when I evaluate a covered call ETF. The second thing is also very, very important. It's the covered call strategy. So that is the second thing I evaluate. What is the covered call strategy of the ETF? So remember, there's always 2 factors on how much of the portfolio are they writing covered calls maximum. So typically in Canada, nobody goes over 50%, right? So Global X, for example, it's up to 50%, but they're typically a little bit lower than that. You could actually see the percentage here for this one at this time is about 50% coverage. For ENCL, is a little bit lower. If we go here, you see it's 38% coverage. So every fund manager has a different cover call strategy. They have plenty of material. I've interviewed so many of them on my channel where we discuss the cover call strategy in detail. So it's really up to you to do the research, look at the documentation, look at the Q&As on my channel to figure out. Really, the goal is to figure out how much upside am I giving up. So you need to know how much max they could write on the portfolio. And then the second factor is the moneyness of the options. Of course, sometimes it's set in stone. Like, for example, Hamilton is a little bit more set in stone, where they typically do at the money calls on 30% of the portfolio. So for example, S-Max, you could actually see it right here. Typically around 30%. They typically do at the money. You see here at the money calls on about 30%. Some of them it's at the money calls on 50% of the portfolio. You have things like Big E and Canny, which is at the money on 50%. It's more set in stone. Then you have providers like Harvest that typically write cover calls up to 33%, or at near the 33% range on their classic cover call ETFs, right? Which includes things like HBF, HTA, HLIF, etc. Then they have the high income shares, right? HHIC, HHIS, which can go up to 50%, but they typically write 33 to 45%. This is information you'll get from watching a Q&A, right, with Harvest, with either Mike Kovacs or Paul McDonald. So it's very important. Then you have Brompton, that typically do a little bit less cover calls, but for example, on their newer one, as discussed in the latest Q&A with Chris, they typically do covered calls on about 40 to 45% of the portfolio, but typically a little bit out of the money, about 2% or so out of the money. So it's very important you do your research to understand what the cover call strategy is, so you could understand, well, how much upside am I giving up? And the general rule of thumb is the more cover calls they do, the more upside you're giving up, but typically the higher yield you're going to get. But the opposite is also true, right? So you have some very straightforward strategies. You have some very unique strategies as well, like the Hamilton Daymax ETFs, right? Where they, these ETFs hold 2 ETFs, a Hamilton Champions dividend ETF, for example, C-Day will own CMVP. So that's 100% of the portfolio. And then the other 25% is the Vanguard S&P 500. They're only doing cover calls on the VOO, on the Vanguard S&P 500 portion, or only on the leveraged 25% portion, while the other ETF doesn't have any cover calls at all, right? So they're all different. You got to do your own research. That's factor number 2. Very, very, very important if you're going to invest in a cover call ETF, right? Third, very, very important factor, like I say now at the beginning of every video in the intro, do not ignore total returns. is total return. So that is a very, very important factor, way more important than yield, because yield is not total return. So factor number 3 is you got to look at total returns. Of course, the longer a fund has been out, the more data you have. If fund's only been out for a month, you don't have much data. But the tools that I use pretty much 3 tools to look at total returns. You could look at them literally on the fund manager's website. So in Canada, total return data only comes out if the fund has been out for over a year. So for example, USCL, you go to performance and you will see the total returns right here. Right, for HDIF, for example, again, performance, you'll see the total return. So every fund manager will have the exact total returns of their fund on their website. Now, to do comparisons, I use 2 tools. So I use the Canada Stock Channel. So you have the link up here. You guys see me do this many, many times where I do total returns. This is where you could compare 2 specific ETFs. So obviously the comparison should make sense. So for example, QQCL, which is the NASDAQ 100 covered call ETF with 25% leverage from Global X, I think a good comparison would be comparing it to the NASDAQ 100 itself, right? So if you do QQCL versus QQC, and it's automatically going to choose the right start date. You need to choose the same start date, obviously, when you're comparing 2 things. So you see that QQCL is actually, with dividends reinvested here, outperforming the NASDAQ 100 itself. So this is actually a very good sign, a very good performance for a covered call ETF that uses covered calls and leverage. My estimate or my expectation is that when you're doing covered calls, not more than 50%, and there's a little bit of leverage, well, the performance, the total return should be similar, maybe a little bit lower, maybe identical, maybe a little bit higher, but at least I expect that it's similar to just holding the underlying. So for indexes, it's very, very, very easy, right? QQCL versus QQC, or USCL versus VFV. Some could be a little bit harder because they're either concentrated portfolios. So, you could always compare it to an index. So for example, an HHIS, maybe I would compare it to QQC, a NASDAQ. Or you have an HYLD, which is not exactly the S&P 500, but that one needs to be compared to VSP, the Vanguard S&P 500. On a Canadian hedge, because HYLD is Canadian hedge, et cetera, et cetera. So total returns, you could use this. If you want to compare up to 5 ETFs, you could use the BMO ETF total return or comparison tool, which is really, really good. So for example, you do ZSP versus USCC versus USCL. These are all pretty valid comparisons, right? S&P 500 versus S&P 500 with covered calls versus S&P 500 with covered calls and 25% leverage. You scroll down and you'll see the total return. So this is going to give you an indication, everyone. It's not the yield that's going to give you this indication on the performance, how this ETF is actually performing. So total return, extremely important. Factor number 3. And now you have the 4th and 5th or maybe 6th factors, which are very small factors in my opinion. The first 3 are the most important. Things like yield. So of course, yield, we always want to know approximately how much yield the ETF is generating. This is annualized. So typically on the Canadian fund manager websites, yields are you're only going to see yields if the fund has been out for over a year. Just like the total return data. So if the fund is less than a 1 year old, you won't see the yield. Although you could easily calculate it yourself with grade 3 math or grade 2 math, but and you won't see the total return. So you got to wait a year after that you'll see it. But again, you could easily calculate it. So this will give you at least an idea of how much passive income you're going to be generating. But remember, this is just distributions can change, and this is just basically a percentage of how much of the net asset value every year currently they're giving to you in cash, and it's based on the stock price. So yield is not super important. I know it might be funny saying that from an income investor perspective, but I feel total return is more important. Yield is just really how much passive income this fund is generating right now based on the current stock price. So it could change a lot, right? The stock prices change, the yield changes. So yields change every day, basically. The next thing would be fees. So the management fees. So in Canada, the management fees are all typically for covered call ETFs are all typically between 40 basis points or 0.40 to the max is maybe 0.85. So like the middle range is typically 65 basis points. So I look at the management fee, not the MER, because the MER will include, I only invest in leverage cover call ETFs. So the MERs include leverage costs. So the MERs will always be a lot higher on the leveraged funds versus the non-leverage. I'm not saying ignore the MERs, but for me personally, the management fee is more important because that's really what you're paying Global X or what you're paying Harvest or Hamilton to actually manage the fund. The rest is the expenses that they're paying, that they're incurring managing the fund, including leverage cost, which if you ask me, they get much lower leverage cost, and it would be much cheaper investing in this ETF than investing in a S&P 500 and then borrowing money myself to take the leverage. That's just my opinion here, but management fee, but they're typically in that range, are typically all the same. So that's another little thing I look at. Then there's also hedging. Is it hedged the Canadian dollar or not, right? So typically you'll see that on the website here. So for ENCL, for example, obviously there is no Canadian hedging because it's all not hedged to the Canadian dollar. This is specifically for US stocks or non-Canadian stocks. So if it's hedged to the Canadian dollar, like HYLD is, for example, it just means that HYLD holds primarily US stocks. It just means if the Canadian dollar gets stronger, that will help a fund that's hedged to the Canadian dollar. But if the Canadian dollar gets weaker versus the US dollar, that will negatively impact slightly the fund. So HYLD, for example, has this is Canadian hedge version, but they also have HYLD.U, which is USD currency, but not hedged to the Canadian dollar. So if you look at for example, 1 year total return of HYLD, it's 20.1. But if you look at the HYLD.U, 1 year is 22.3. So that just pretty much means that the Canadian dollar in that 1 year did not do that great versus the US dollar. But you see that the difference is negligible. So personally, I typically prefer not hedge the Canadian dollar because I believe in the USD currency more than the Canadian currency. But I still own HYLD. I still own Biggie, for example. Those are hedged in Canadian dollar. But things like QQCL and HHIS and QDay are not hedged. So just a little factor here, a little consideration as well. So again, guys, this is my checklist before I invest in any cover call ETF that I look at. The most important, just to wrap up, the most important by far is the stocks, the holdings, or the indexes, or the assets inside the ETF. What am I actually investing in? I'm not investing in Hamilton here. I'm not investing in HYLD. HYLD is nothing. It's just the wrapper. It's just the middleman. I'm investing in the stocks or the assets or the ETFs inside. And sometimes you got to peel the onion back and to figure out exactly what stocks you're investing in. Number two, the cover call strategy, right? How much cover calls are they doing? You got to know how much upside you're giving up. So typically in Canada, nobody goes over 50% coverage. Remember, for the cover call strategy, there's two factors. Coverage, portfolio coverage, on how much of the portfolio they're writing cover calls, 33%, 30%, 50%. Then there's the moneyness of the options. This could be sometimes difficult to find. It might not be directly on their website. This is where you have to do maybe a little bit more digging into the firm, watch the Q&As. I have them on my channel. I always ask them this question whenever we're talking about a fund. And by the way, I have a specific playlist on my channel. Click on playlists. And there's one playlist which is just Q&As, so you could find all the Q&As there. Total returns, very important, right? I use this tool. The BMO ETF comparison tool, and then there's also the total returns if the fund has been out for a year on the fund manager's website. And then there's other things as well, like yield, like the fees, and like if it's hedged the Canadian dollar or not. So give me a thumbs up, guys. I would really appreciate it. Hopefully this helps you to maybe help you evaluate cover call ETFs in the future if you're going to consider them, putting them in the portfolio. Is there one that I missed? Let me know what you look at, the most important thing for you when you're trying to evaluate a cover call ETF. Make sure you like the video, subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And take care, everyone. Stay safe, stay passive, stay honorable. See you next time.